a year ago and interviewed a friend of mine, Mary Boutonkowski, who's also a digital nomad, and she's been doing this for over 20 years now. And so I just thought this is cool. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us here on Nomads 50 Plus. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and it's my current mission to interview 1,000 digital nomads and or midlife recalibrators and or people who I find very interesting and everyone should hear from. And today we have a very special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us your story? You can start
Oh
from the
my,
very beginning or anywhere you like.
well, it was 1960, and no,
I was a
Dor
mewling babe.
Doris Day was on the cover of Life magazine. I have the cover. I stumbled upon this store in San Francisco, and there were Life magazines going back every month for 50 years. I don't know. Anybody under the age of 50 probably won't know what Life magazine must be like. It was a big photographic
I
magazine.
actually remember stumbling across Life magazine from my birth month and year too, and I'm like, oh yes,
Did you
I
buy it?
gotta have that.
Did you buy? I
Oh,
bought one for all my brothers and sisters. There's
oh,
like 50 bucks,
absolutely,
$100 a copy. And my sister has it framed on the wall. Anyway, so
nice.
I'm kind of Irish British, but I've lived about half my life, give or take, in the United States as well. So people get very confused. When I'm with my father, it's kind of funny. I was on a phone call with the business guy, and my father was in the other room. I said, "Dad, I'll be in there in a wee minute. Just wait a second. I'll get the tea on, and we'll watch the football." And this guy's like, "So, dude, we."
Yeah,
And
that
then they're
happens to
like,
me when I.
bro, I thought you were American, yo. Anyway,
I know. I mean, I've been here for about 30 years now. I'm originally Canadian, and sometimes I slip into the Canadian accent, especially after I've spoken to my relatives in Canada. And
yeah,
I also have a Greek background, so I have two backgrounds to leverage off
yes.
of.
Kalispera, tikanes.
Polikala, you see?
That's the only polite Greek I know. I had a Greek roommate for a year.
It's funny how
I had
you
a
always
Greek
learn the swear words first, right? It's
I had
interesting.
a Greek roommate for 1 year in London, and the guy taught me everything. Right? I mean, I speak some polite stuff as well, but I like
Nice.
languages. And he also taught me that this is a really bad thing to do in Greece.
Yeah,
Just
don't
hold
do
your
that.
hand up. Don't do that. That's like the Americans be like, okay, whatever. Actually, no, America we have talk to the hand, but it's much more vulgar in Greek.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Grew up in New York City. I was a math kid. This is people are going to hate me for this, but I actually started attending college class when I was 11 years old. I went up the road, and my dad was
Wow.
teaching freshman chemistry, and I attended his. I thought it was the greatest thing in the freaking world. I got to hang out with my dad, and I went to college. I was done with college pretty much by 18. And so, like, I was this very guy, but I also had big drinking, crazy, I had
Living
the
on the
other side
edge.
to me. I was very much on the edge. I was so far on the edge that,
You were burning bright, like they say.
I went to work on Wall Street. I gave up a career in science. I went to work on Wall Street because that's where the money was. And, Wall Street salary when you're in your 20s and have problems with substances is putting out the fire with gasoline. Anyway, my Wall Street career burned very,
But
very
dude,
bright.
are you weren't the only one doing that, right? I'm sure
No, there was more.
everybody.
There was more traffic in Class A substances than there was in bonds most days on Wall Street.
Yeah.
And I had a guy work for me. He said he used to shoot up in the bathroom. I was like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" Excuse my French. This is in the 80s. I'm like, I mean,
This is
he's
how I get
sober
through
now.
my day, man.
I'm sober. I'm sober nearly 35 years. So like, I don't give a shit what
Good for
I
you.
did.
That's great.
My 20s was a big mistake. And then I got into management consulting, and I got into management strategy to start with, and then I got into change management, and I became a leadership consultant, and I started my own leadership development
Why'd you
firm.
leave Wall Street,
You know,
man? It was so lucrative. Did you just say it was like too much?
Oh well, it's not clear who left whom, right? Because I was known for not like I'm calling in sick on Fridays. There's only so many times that your grandmother can pass away, or you can get food poisoning before they say, "Okay, we're done with you, buddy." So
Right.
I was known for burning very bright and not being very reliable, which is an understatement.
Mm,
It's completely unreliable. I have been fired by the best firms in the world. Credit Suisse, was
nice.
Boston, Morgan Stanley, Citibank. I have been fired for some very good places.
Do you
Uh,
frame the letters? It's like,
no, I didn't do that in the list. You have 30 seconds to clear your desk. I was very good. I was a derivatives trader, like in the time, like I don't know if you remember that movie Wall Street with Michael, what's that?
One of
Whatever his
my
name is.
favorite films of all time. I watch it all the
Oh, there
time.
you go. Right? Yeah, greed
Yeah,
is
I
good.
love it.
Yeah,
I practically know the speech. I was actually Gecko for Halloween once.
oh,
So
were you really? Yeah, yeah.
had the cigar, suspenders, the whole shebang.
But it was also a corruption of my values because I was so hedonistically inclined that money became the most important thing to me. Money and the things that you could buy with money. And really, I've been brought up to love science and philosophy and ideas and literature and classical music. And I was brought up good, and
Mm.
I was very, very talented scientist. But, I mean, I still have professors who, this is 60 years on. They're like, oh, I remember you, like, do you really? But anyway, yeah. But like, so like that wasn't
So you
abandoning
you were
my
burning
values.
bright even in science class, enough
I,
for them
I,
to
I
remember
was,
you.
I was smart. I was a smart little guy. I didn't go out on my first date until I was 23. I mean,
22 here,
but
so
my sister, my
I know
sister
the feeling.
goes. My sister went the other way. She went completely jock and everything like that. And I have a letter jacket for math team in debate. Like it's like
Nice,
my,
nice.
my kids always say for the 1 year you're in high school. Yes, for the 1 year that I was in high school. But so that's the thing. I've actually found this time that we live in now, before we get on the nomadism, which I'm uh, deeply curious about. I mean, I've traveled all over the world, but let me talk about nomadism. I have one of my best poker buddies. I play poker very high level. I'm at World Series poker right now. Like when we're done with this,
Mm,
I'm going to go play very high stakes poker. And
nice.
I was on TV all last summer, and it's kind of like living the dream and all that stuff. And then I met a guy when on his 21st birthday. He was playing at his first legal poker tournament, and I was. I'm much older than Dan. I'm about 25 years older than him. Anyway, this guy's my best friend now, right? He's about 40.
Nice.
And Dan has never had his own house.
Seriously?
But yeah, no, but yet he's very well off. He's a crypto trader, professional poker player. He's an artist. He's a finance trader guy. He's one of those guys. He lives his life through a portfolio of shit that he finds incredibly fun. Um,
Nice.
but
I
he
think
would
that's
just
probably
go.
the
He would come.
future.
Maybe he came stay with me for 6 months, right? Before but I don't know how this 21-year-old Jewish kid from Florida became best friends with an old guy like me. But anyway, he's still my best friend. And Dan's a nomad, and so Dan would he just pick up sticks. He would go to Asia for 2 months.
Yeah, and he could do
And
everything he needed to do from there. He didn't need to. He didn't need to be
yeah,
anywhere in particular.
I mean, he could fit his whole life in a backpack. And then
Mm,
he did a cool thing: is he bought a yellow school bus
nice.
and he shipped it to Colombia with three of his buddies, and they did a 6 month videography tour called On the Bus, traveling through Latin America,
I love it.
interviewing cocaine dealers and people who own the biggest winery in Peru, and then people who are living on the fringes, indigenous communities and squatter communities, and
Wow, that
so
sounds
he just
super
like,
interesting.
dude, right, yeah, this guy, and so this guy's living this life, and I'm a boomer, right? So it's very irresponsible.
Exactly. What are you
Well,
doing? You're like, you got to go to
Well,
school, you got to go to college, you got
bro,
to get a
you
job,
don't even have a fucking
career.
mortgage. What's up? You
Yeah,
have no
yeah,
mortgage, bro.
exactly.
You're not even human.
You're breaking all the
Uh,
rules, man.
so that's my boy Dan, and we just had so much fun together. He, uh, so I became sort of nomad curious about 15 years ago, but the constraints for me is I have children who are very young. I'm
Mm,
almost 66, right? So like I have a 16-year-old. So so it's always been one constraint that I've absolutely accepted gratefully is I want to grow up with my kid. I want to see my kids grow up. I like hanging out with my kids.
yeah.
I just don't. Yeah. So that was an absolute constraint. The other constraint is more physical. You know, I have too much stuff, and I don't know how many times you hear this from people. Do you hear this from people?
All the time. All the
I have
time.
3,000. I have 3,000, 4,000 books. People are like, why don't you get rid of them? And books to me are like kind of tied up with my identity and everything like that. And 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 do I need, you know, will I ever read 2,990 of them? Absolutely not. No, not in a million years. So it's an irrationality. And now that one of my kids is 22 and the other one's 16, I'm beginning to think. So this year I rented my house out in January and I haven't been home since January.
There you
so,
go.
so,
See, you're
so
you're
I'm
doing
sort of,
it. You're doing it, man.
I'm sort of doing it, but I'm doing it within like a 90-minute flight of Denver, so that I'm really close to my boys.
That's perfectly fine too. So why are you doing it then? If you got your books, you got your boys, you got your family, and then like, so where does the wanderlust come from? I mean, were you always interested in travel, or like where did this come from?
Well, I mean, I've kind of taken it for granted, you know. Like when I was 6 months old, I moved from Canada, to England, and then I moved from England to
Wait,
Scotland,
you're
and I
not
moved from
originally Canadian, are you?
From BC,
No
From
way,
I was born in BC,
fellow Canuck.
I've never lived there. But you know, like, and then I moved to New York, and then New Jersey, and then New York, New Jersey, and then I moved to Belgium, and then I moved to Scotland, and then I lived in Scotland for a while, and we moved to Wisconsin, which is a whole different thing. So I have like for a whole Wisconsin thing you could do for sure. Anyway, and then Wisconsin, and then I moved straight over to Europe, and then in Europe you're near everywhere. Like London is like, you know, it's 45-minute flight from Amsterdam and a sort of 90-minute flight from Marseille, and you know, a 2 hour flight to Barcelona. So you take that shit for granted. I take for granted,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if we have any, if I can make this X-rated. I don't want to make it too X-rated, but my friend was having a 30th birthday party, and we had a lot of money. We were Wall Street assholes, right? And we were at a nightclub, of course, at 3 o'clock in the morning, because you know that's what we do. And my brother said, "Man, you guys are spending so much money in champagne. Why don't you just grab a flight and go celebrate the rest of it in the south of France?" And one of my friends was so fucked up. He's like, "What a good idea!" So he went home. We're, by the
Challenge
way,
accepted.
grabbed our passports and made our way to Heathrow Airport at 5:30 in the morning and said, "Can we have 9 tickets to Nice, please?"
I love it.
I mean, you know, so like I sort of taken travel too much for granted, although there are many places I have been. But so I kind of have not never traveled. It's an interesting thing, and of course, as a management consultant, I was traveling for work. God most of the time. So anyway, whatever.
So, but
That's
you
the
but
story.
you traveled. So, did you were you independent, or did you travel for work? I mean, did companies like say, okay, you're working for Citibank, I need you in London. So, is that what happened, or how did you end up in all these places?
No, I haven't had a real job since it's not 100% true. I founded my own company in 2001 when I left big consulting PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was briefly a partner at IBM like 3 years ago, 4 years ago during the pandemic. I was a partner at IBM. It's actually a good thing to be.
Hmm.
It was a horrible place to work, but that's not a long story. But no, I've been my own boss for 20, 25 years now. So
Mm.
more or less continuously. I've been a professor at universities, but like adjunct professor, right? So they just pay you for the courses you teach. And I do keynote speaking now, so like that thing, flown around the world to talk about AI. So that's my thing. So I've got a talk in Amsterdam in the fall. So I get around. I get around. But this thing of constraints. Well, first of all, one of the thing is how important culture is. Like when I encountered my friend who was nomading, I actually dated a woman who was living in a what do you call it? It's RVs in America,
Hmm.
and that was like her thing. And I thought like that's what. And she was, you know, very professional laptops and Wi-Fi, and you think, look, this is. I mean, she was a knowledge worker, like a gig worker,
Yeah, there's
and everything
tons of
like
those.
that.
I've
But
I've
still, like
talked
that,
to
this
many of them.
voice in my head was like, "You're irresponsible. You don't even pay rent. What the fuck?" You know, like,
The boomer voice in the back of your
the
head.
boomer voice. But it's interesting how we grew up with that stuff. I mean, this may be interesting to you, but I got divorced in 2011, and my mom said to me in her kind and loving way, she said something your failed marriage. And I thought, well, actually, it's not a failure. I have two beautiful children. We've lived in 4 different countries. we built and sold a business, and most of the time we were pretty happy until we weren't. So I'm
Yeah.
like, where's the failure in that? But I was brought up to believe, and most people are, that it should be for life.
Yep.
But
Yep.
like,
It's part of the life.
who says, right? Who says? Where does that should come from? And there are good like sociobiological reasons why it come from is because the ritual of marriage and a mating partnership would keep a man there to provide for the,
Yeah, but dude,
in
we live long,
animal
long,
species,
long lives now.
animal
Our life,
species. Exactly.
I think our lives are longer than that. I mean, back when all of this first started, our lives were shorter, and now we live much, much longer lives. We're probably going to live to 110, 120. Who knows, right? So,
My kids will probably have a lifespan up triple digits for sure.
well,
So like that's
definitely.
the thing that these cultural voices live inside your head. And I think it's really interesting because I then pause to reflect upon where is this idea. And I admire people who are married 50, 60, 70 years and are happy with it. But for most people who perhaps aren't or who grow in different directions, whatever, they've got this narrative in their head which is cultural. And then you got structures like taxation rates, and then you've got children, which is another structure that suffers in divorce, and everything like that. So you have all of these voices saying married is a good idea, and even sometimes in relationships that aren't, nurturing or even worse, abusive. So this notion that you're a failure if your marriage lasts for 5 years. So I said to my mom, I said, "Yo, I had a great marriage for 10 years, and now I'm single, and maybe I'll have another great marriage for 10 years, or maybe I won't." So I don't
Yeah, I
consider
wouldn't
it to
call it.
be.
I
I
wouldn't
don't
call it a
consider it.
failure.
No,
I
but
don't
most
believe
people
in
would,
failure
right?
anyway. I think failure
Yeah.
failure
What?
is a
Well,
misnomer.
yeah.
It's
Well, I don't know.
it's
Yeah,
education.
that makes you an n of one. But no, but seriously, these cultural norms, I think, do a real number on our heads. Don't you think? Can do.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think what's happened is that most of the nomads that I do talk to are 50 plus, and a lot of them, their kids are already out of the house or gone, or they didn't have any kids, or those encumbrances have fallen away. I mean, I do talk to people who have, they have their homes, they have their giant libraries. They go, what am I going to do with this? Sometimes they keep their home as a hub that they go back to every now and then, but then spend the rest of the time. So there's different degrees of digital nomadism. So it really depends on what people want to do. And the number one thing they have the concern about is really money. It's like, how do they fund their travels? Because they're all over the world, which it's actually cheaper to live elsewhere.
I'm kind of saving money right now. I rented my house out, so I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm living lean, so I don't know that. Is it necessarily a cost? I mean, you have to pay rent wherever you are, right? Don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that I think what people forget is that we're living in the U.S. It's expensive to live here, right? It costs a lot of money to live here when there's plenty of other countries in the world where the rents are cheaper and everything is less expensive. So we have this perception that if we want to go travel the world, that it's going to be expensive and we need a lot of money piled up in order to do that. But you can live elsewhere with a fraction of the cost. I mean, I talked to some guy the other day who lived in Mexico, and he's like, I have this beautiful giant place for less than $1,000 a month. So
Yeah, I
you
tried to
can
persuade
save
my
money.
kids. They wouldn't do it. He was a senior, and they're more rational than their father. One's a senior in college, and one was a sophomore in high school. I was like, let's go live in Bali for 6 months, but the education system doesn't permit that. Then there's no objective reason at all why my children could not, but there's no structure by which they can follow the curriculum which they're committed to
Right. So they would have to
remotely,
stay here anyway.
which is ridiculous because I don't say this is a good thing, but most of the stuff that's taught can be taught equally well online. I mean, except if you're in kindergarten, then that's not true. But once you get to high school and college, there's very little that can be taught online, right?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And education is one thing that definitely needs to be disrupted because, I mean, look at what they're being taught. I mean, is it useful in today's world? Probably not. We probably need to upend the whole thing and do something
Well,
completely different.
I have actually a really different view of that. Like
Let's
people
hear it.
say, like no, I just think it teaches you to think. Like I think good, and not so much in high school or maybe high school anywhere, something like that. But a good college education teaches you to think critically about the world, and it teaches you about subjects you wouldn't otherwise learn. People go, oh, I learned all this shit about history. I don't use it. Well, yeah, you kind of do use it. I mean, and I also think learning and education are values in their own right. Like, I don't think they have to have a function independent of learning and education. Like, I think knowledge, I can't myself, but I think someone who can quote Homer or Shakespeare or, Richard Feynman, the physicist, and who's read deeply in some of those things, I admire them. They had no functional value in the world. I have a degree in biochemistry. I've never used it. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
no. I'm not saying that they shouldn't they shouldn't be educated at all. I'm just saying it's all backwards of what we actually teach. I think the critical thinking needs to come earlier. I think a lot of the stuff that we teach late, it just needs to be disruptive.
How much critical thinking they try and teach them. I mean, in my day, nobody had ever heard of it. Critical thinking in my day was you called someone an asshole, right? That was critical thinking. And my kids are introduced to it, but I don't know any adults who I would say, I don't know very many adults who are good critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Really.
Did they actually learn it in
I know the difference between critical thinking and criticism.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they can't tell. Yeah.
Yeah. Critical thinking is, the Broncos suck this year. No, that's not critical thinking. No,
that's high level thinking there.
but they're confused, and I think I was lucky enough to go back to. I've gone back to school 4 or 5 times. I go back and get a master's degree every decade. So that's an interesting thing about me. I did one in philosophy in my 40s, and that really, really taught me to think part about shit in a way that nothing else ever had. Like science.
Oh, philosophy's great. That's my. I actually have a philosophy degree. That was my original.
First degree. You're another useless son of a bitch like me.
Yes, I remember
reading
about careers in philosophy.
Is that Star Trek? Is that the Enterprise back there?
Yeah, that's the Enterprise. I'm a Star Trek fan too.
Which one? Which one is it? I can't see which one it is.
That is the Enterprise D, but I also have an Enterprise. Well, where is it? It's somewhere back here. I also have the original Enterprise as well. I'm a huge fan from day one. In fact, Star Trek, if you ask me, has been the most effective piece of media to drive people into science and technology, right? Because they watched what was on Star Trek and they said, I want to build that. I want to live in that society.
Quite possibly. Who would have thought that 40 years after Captain Kirk flipped open his phone like that and said, beam me up? Who would have thought that would become like complete routine in the 1990s, like flip phones, it was the first show I was allowed to stay up after 9 o'clock. Like when you're a kid, It was a big, big, big deal to stay up after 9 o'clock. Yeah. And Star Trek came out in whatever, 65. You probably remember.
Late 60s, 66 through 69.
66. Yeah. And I was allowed to stay up and watch Star Trek, and I thought it was the most magnificent thing ever. I still do.
I think that's what I'm thinking. It launched a million careers, that show, in science and technology, because people are looking at it and they said, this is what I want. And not just science and technology. They looked at the world from a sociological perspective and said, I want to build a world like this. Right? Can you imagine? I can't imagine like Roddenberry ever thought.
You see, we don't do that in our world. We're not people thinking about like what kind of world do we want to create in 50 or 100 or 200 years? Like, what do we want this?
Exactly.
What do we want the world? So nobody thinks like that. They think about like, what does the next quarter have to look like if you're a business guy, or the next election if you're a politician, or the next gig if you're a gig worker, and that kind of small thinking. I mean, I don't admire. I used to be such an Elon Musk fanboy, and unfortunately, but he's one of the few people who's actually like, what are we going to be doing in 35 or 50 or 100 years that is going to dignify us as human beings? So then 2100 people go, wow, those guys in the early 21st century, those guys had it going on. Like those guys really built the world around us, because right now it's very easy to look back on the world as it is today and some of the things that are going on and say, actually, they did a fairly good job screwing everything up. I'm actually an optimist.
It's true. So am I. But you're right. I mean, we've been overcome by this short-term thinking that all we can think about is the next quarter, the next thing. Nobody's looking at the long term. Nobody. And then when you do look at the long term, because I actually did, I'm a futurist as well, and I've done futurist.
Oh, I didn't know that about you. Oh, that's so cool. Oh,
I've done that work a lot. Even if you just push out 10 years, it's like, where do you think you're going to be in 10 years? And they're like, I cannot even imagine where you're going to be in 10 years. Well, if you can't imagine where you're going to be in 10 years, how can you imagine where you're going to be next year? Because that's part of the plan to get to where you're going. It's like it's impossible for them to even think that far out, let alone 100 years out. It's nuts.
Yeah,
I
and I
can't
think
understand.
but you remember there are church cathedrals in Europe that took 75 years to build, 100 years to
Yeah.
build the pyramids.
So that thinking, we
And
had
people
that
were
thinking.
thinking like, what there's something. And it might come from an Asian philosophy, is being willing to plant trees under the shade of which you will never sit under, is being able to invest in the future. Like, I'll never sit under the shade of this tree, but damn it, I'm going to plant it anyway. I think that's rather a beautiful sentiment. I don't know what you think.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And
But one
and
of
the
the
thing
things
is,
is in my talks on AI, they've changed a lot because I'm much more optimistic now than I ever was. But I have a slide showing like how AI has found its way into our collective consciousness, because I think it probably goes back to 50s science fiction, maybe even earlier than that. But certainly with The Matrix, by the way, and Terminator, we're now talking about some of my favorite movies and everything like that. And on television shows, like most recently, Pluribus is good, Severance is good, Black Mirror is good. Like, it's very hard amongst all of the rich science fiction literature to find utopia.
it's
Like,
impossible.
well, but Star Trek is kind of the one. There is another
Yeah,
one
and then when they
called,
brought it back, they made it dystopian again. It's like, oh God.
yeah, that's right.
It's like, but I
And who
mean,
in the
every time I say,
1960s said in the future we have no need for money because resources are at stake and we're able to devote ourselves to caring for one another through exploration in science and art. And that was, Jean-Luc Picard in or whatever, mid 80s, right? Or something like that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's an amazing
yeah,
sentiment. Is what if we didn't have to struggle for survival and be able to, we were liberated. And then what is it like to work along AI? Data was, in some senses, the noblest of them all, right? He
yes,
was in some
exactly.
senses the most human because that was his whole project, was how do I become more human, which isn't such a stupid project for a human being, never mind a robot. He's like, oh, I'm going to learn the violin because I can be more human. I'm going to get a cat. So I have something to care about. So I'll be more human. I mean, what more human sentiment is there than I want to make myself more human, a richer human being? And here was this android. So in Star Trek, you have this wonderful utopia view. Uh,
Oh,
and
it's fantastic. But for some reason, I mean, I actually wrote a blog post about this. Like, why do we not lean more into the utopian visions? It's like
I
almost
do
every
not,
piece of media that comes out is
but
dystopia,
it's
dystopia,
kind of
dystopia.
boring.
And the response
It's
is, oh,
boring, but
well, utopias are boring.
yeah, it's boring. If it bleeds, it leads.
Are you a
Uh,
fan of Ian Banks, the Culture series? Have you
I was
read
just
that?
about to suggest that to you. No shit. That's so funny.
Dude,
I was literally about to suggest the Ian Banks novels to you. Um, and there are some others. Some of the big space opera guys, Alistair Reynolds, writes. Well, I wouldn't say he writes
yeah, but I
space
mean,
opera, but
you can't beat the culture because the culture
no,
is
no, you
basically a
can't.
utopia,
It
and
it's great,
the interesting
and the
stuff
bots
happens
have
on the edges.
personalities, but they don't have control. Like some of the AIs in the culture. The culture, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is I don't know, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 years in the future, like a really long ways in the future,
Oh,
and
and
it's a symbiotic relationship between human and bots, which isn't a dominance hierarchy. It's not like the machines control the humans and the humans don't control the machines. Machines do machine things. And the humans do human things. They're scientists, they're artists, they're experts. Some of them do fuck all, which is kind of interesting too. Is like
that's
because it's
right.
a post-scarcity society, there are people who can elect to do nothing.
Yeah.
Um, but that would be seen as another thing is terribly irresponsible. There was a cult, Oscar. I don't know if it was Oscar Wilde or
Wait,
I don't know.
Is this the Protestant work ethic coming back to haunt us?
Yeah,
Is that
well,
where is
I
that
don't know
where
if it
it
was
is?
Oscar Wilde, but there was an essay in praise of idleness.
Yes.
That would be seen as completely childish and irresponsible today. But
Oh,
there was a time when
nobody would.
idleness was seen as a virtue. In one of my books, I talk about the gospel of work. Is how did society become workified?
Mm,
How have we workified? How have we turned everything into a project, everything into a dashboard? That's kind of an interesting question. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but definitely everything is a project now. My kids are a project. My health is a project. A health dashboard. thing for the kid. Like
Yeah, but some
everything is
things should be projects.
I've got my Obsidian is open. I've got like 19 million, like whatever.
Well, some things should be projects, but there's a lot of things that shouldn't be projects, right?
That's
We
right.
turn them into projects when they should be more art.
Yeah. Where are you, by the way, located geographically right now?
I'm in San Jose.
Okay, so you're there, and do you do the remote thing, like go to Bali for a month, or as part of your nomad
I
life?
usually do, but I don't right now because I have to hang here for a bit for my wife to recover from something.
Oh, I'm
She
so
had some.
sorry.
Yeah, no, she's doing all right, but she just had some surgery and it takes a while to recover. So we're hanging out here for now, and then we're probably going to be off to we're going to Austin in a couple weeks, and then we're going to be in Greece, and then we're going to be in Hawaii, maybe Japan. I don't know. We haven't
Okay,
figured it
yeah,
out
yeah,
yet.
okay. I spent a month in Austin last year. It's kind of a nice city. Like if you hold a gun to my head and I had to live in Texas, it would be Austin.
The food scene is
I'd say the
amazing,
only
and the music scene
probably
is
yeah.
is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. But we share much in common there. I do want to say, like, I feel a little bit like I'm 15 again. My sister says to me, in the way that loving families do, she said, "Why don't you grow the fuck up?" But I have
Never,
one of those families.
never.
Like I'm like, you know, I mean, I went out on a date when my father's just had his 90th birthday last weekend, and
Oh wow,
and
that's great.
when I go to yeah, we went to celebrate. People from all over the world came to celebrate his birthday with me. It's pretty cool. I mean, he's not doing great, but it's at 90, whatever. And and when I go to Madison. I spend like 3 or 4 months a year in Madison because he's not going to have that many more years, and he's very lonely. He lives in his big old house by himself, and he
Mm.
likes having me there, just to yell at and to nag. Uh, I know what that is.
If it's what makes him happy, why not?
It's the way
Right?
we say "I love you" in our family, as nagging the shit out of people. Give me advice. He still says to me, Paul, with all your foreign languages, you should really go get a job at the United Nations.
Mm.
And he said that to me like not once a month or a year. He'll say it to me like 2 times a day. He'll think of, you could probably get on the faculty of a Chinese university with what you're. It's like, could I go?
Isn't it great that your parents think about you, like even when they're in it
It's like I'm
that old?
16 again. I'm 66 years old. I got 2 children. I've run 3 businesses. Like, whatever.
Well, you know what
I
it's like. I mean,
mean,
you're a parent. You'll probably always think of them as kids. Your kids, no matter like if they get to their
sure.
40s or 50s, they're still your kids. You feel the exact
Yeah.
same way about them. It's like you still
Yeah.
remember them as babies.
I do, but this AI thing has really been an unlock for me, man, because I've worked for myself for a long time, and uh, human beings are great to work with. They're also a pain in the ass to work with. I have one of my
Oh, tell
book
me about it.
editors. One of my book editors is she has the most beautiful aesthetic eye, and she is the best grammar copy editor I've ever worked with. It takes forever. Like if I give her a chapter now, and she's like, well, I'm not sure I'll get to it. I can't, like, and no amount of cajoling from me will change that. And something like that, I hand it to AI, it spits it back out of me in 5 minutes. It's,
It's exactly what
95%
you
is
want.
good. Nobody moves fast enough. And I have finally and it's not just about speed, and it's not just about volume of output and all that kind of stuff, but I also have the thinking part of it. Like I'm interested in everything, and I have something that could think with me about if I want to ask about Demosthenes, or if I want to ask about Plato, or I want to ask
Oh
about
yeah,
physics, or I want to matrix multiplication. I think it talk to me about all that shit. Now you find me a human
yes.
being that can talk to me about all that shit, and
Especially at
there isn't
3
one.
a.m. when you're lying in bed and
Oh,
you're going, oh,
oh,
I
don't
really need
even.
to know this.
Oh, don't. Oh,
I need to know this
don't.
right
Please
now.
don't.
You should see my
I wrote a
chat
really.
history, man. It is
I
everything
wrote a
under the sun.
really I wrote a really, really amazing post on Subcast called AI Sleep Disorder, because there were people who would characterize, there's a psychiatry term for it, it's hypomania, but people who would characterize the way I live my life right now as being manic, something. But I do wake up at 3 in the morning with a head full of ideas. and I do have to write them down because I'll have written 3 book chapters between 3 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. I've just
Hmm.
got so many interesting things happening in my life. There's like this constant cognitive overstimulation, and I'm saying that like it's a good thing, but
It is
I
a good
haven't
thing.
found a good way. Well, I haven't found a good way to regulate my sleep. Like right now, I'm running on about 3.5 hours sleep, which is not my choice. Like
Yeah.
and I feel pretty good, and and I live my life so I can take naps whenever I like. Most days,
No, but and you feel that like once now that you've started to use AI, that this is accelerated, right? It's gone even faster. Like you have more ideas, you have more thinking, you have more things are coming out. Like you have more things to bounce off.
all the time.
Like
It's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
The infinite backlog is a really amazing post on it. But yeah, I find exhilarated by it. I don't think I think to other people it looks like I'm just like this crazy old guy who's But again, here's a revelation for because I know you deal with the 50 plus crowd. Like when I was 55, the double nickel, I've been working more or less since I was 20 or 15 years old. But let's say I've been working for 35 years, which is fair enough. And if you were an actuary, you'd say that Paul Gibbons will probably live to somewhere like 85 or 90 or 95 years old,
Yeah.
like statistically speaking, right? Yeah, in good health and whatever. And if you think about that, like I have another 35 productive years in front of me at 55 years old, potentially.
Hmm.
And I've learned a lot in the previous 35 years that some of which could be very useful. So like with all the crazy things I've done with the Wall Street and the banking and the doctor and the professor and the running a business and
Yeah, yeah,
and going to
yeah, yeah.
visiting 25 countries, like that was then looking backwards, but what is to prevent me? And I tell you what's to prevent me is a lot of it's mindset. A lot of it is like our culture says, about 25, you have to be bringing up the shuffleboard on the golf clubs.
That's right.
There's mandatory legal retirement ages in British universities. You have to retire at 62. It's an absurd system. Alone.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, my dad was my. They make they and there's ways in which it can be good because tenure is a way of keeping mediocrity in the faculty in faculty, which I don't really approve of tenure. I was interviewing for the dean of a business school one time, and
Hmm.
just like I thought I would just go be a dean of a business school, whatever. And I was invited to the dean position, and in the interview, and I said, well, one of the things that really creates inefficiencies in the academic world is this tenure system.
Oh boy.
I
Did
might
you
as
just
well have
touch the
urinated.
third wire?
I stood up and I urinated on the carpet there because that's never say is that the tenure system, but it's incredibly
That
dysfunctional.
is the electrified wire. It's the third rail of
Yeah, yeah.
academics. Man, you can't touch
You
that.
don't say that. You don't say that in a job interview. That's so funny. I'm sorry. I mean,
You're
honestly,
probably
I
thinking
think
to yourself,
I'm
"How
not.
can
I'm
I
not going to say
torpedo
the
this?
R
I don't want
world,
to
but
do it."
that's a guy who thinks of himself as pretty bright, having absolutely no social. Like read the room. Like it's not what you say. I mean, what an idiot I am. Like sometimes I'm amazed at how stupid I am, and that's an example.
No, but you
But
know what?
like,
It was probably your instinct to say, "This is not for me. I need to torpedo my way out of here," or
yeah,
you were just
well,
being
that's
honest.
probably yeah, I dare say that's what I think, which
Yeah,
is a great flaw of my character. I don't, I mean, you can see it as a virtuous if you have to agree with me, but
I wouldn't call that a flaw.
I know,
No,
just
but see, once you
whatever.
get over 50, you have basically zero fucks to give, right? They might cost a lot of
That's
money,
right.
but you you
Yeah,
have you
yeah,
have
yeah,
no
yeah.
fucks to give, and you go,
I, I, I,
you look back at your younger self and you think to yourself, why the hell was I acting like that when I was acting like that so I could please other people and improve my reputation, make everybody think I'm a nice guy and all that, and then you get up to this age and you're like, why the hell did I do all of that? I don't have to do
yeah,
that
it's a
anymore. I don't have to
natural
answer
enough
to
thing
anybody.
to it's well, I mean, we're herd animals. It's a natural enough thing to want people to like you. But you're right. By the time I don't really care if people like me anymore.
Well, you do what you do, and then
Some people love me and some people hate me and like whatever. I don't
well, you
really
see,
mind.
I think if you have haters, you must be doing something right because you're touching a nerve that pisses somebody off, and if you're touching a nerve
Yeah,
that pisses somebody off, then you've made it. You're there. Like if you don't have any
Yeah.
trolls uh, on
But I
Substack.
don't know. I mean, there are certain rules in the community. There's this thing called culture, right? And this thing called culture, for example, on Substack, where we are now, there's this thing called culture, which says you sort of don't criticize what people write. And one of the guys who writes a lot about AI, who has a academic title before his name, talks shit most of the time. And like when he
Oh,
talks shit, like I, I, I reply mostly respectfully, haven't really thought this through, buddy. You got to go look this up because you're like plain ass wrong here, or something like that.
yeah.
And that's not the dumb thing. But if the guy's going to appear, I ended up blocking him. Just can't do that shit. But this is a guy with
You
like
got no time for
11,000
that shit,
followers.
man.
I just like if either I'm not gonna walk over the fact that you're spreading misinformation on Substack. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna walk. You want me to like go through and I just don't. I mean, if people are spreading misinformation, I wrote a book called Truth Wars, which is not. I didn't publish it because I wrote it in 2016 when Trump
Geez, that
was.
sounds like a lot like what Alex Jones would write, man. Is it? It's not one of those
Well, Alex Jones
conspiracy
has
theories things.
half a chapter in the book actually devoted to Alex
Oh,
Jones. Like,
seriously?
why is Alex Jones?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's what I wrote about. It's like why are people drawn? Why does Alex Jones have 1 million followers? Like why 1 million views on his YouTubes? Like why? What
Yeah.
is Alex Jones providing of value to the world? So Truth Wars did tackle that and media disinformation, not like by politicians, but also by corporations, the way they buy consent.
Oh, so
Like
much of it.
here's a factoid from the book, right? Cigarettes kill 500,000 people a year in 1980, right? You name one thing at the grocery store. If you bought something in the grocery store and it killed like 3 people, it would be off the shelves forevermore. And yet, cigarettes, by the way, what was the best performing? It may not be true today, but it was certainly true 5 years ago. The best performing stock in the last 100 years, Altria. You know what they make? They make cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you tell me, because the Surgeon General, I worked with his son on Wall Street. His name was, I think it was Luther Terry. In 1963, he said cigarettes cause cancer and heart disease and lung disease. Like he said, this is the Surgeon General
In 1963.
in 1960 freaking three, and still we have 500,000 deaths. And still now, smoking has mostly disappeared from young people. I don't know any. Actually, the trend is actually reversed. My brother is never really smoked his whole life, but when he has beers, he'll go out of the bar and he'll have like that one cigarette a year just so he feels like a bad. But
What they
it's sort
haven't,
of
they moved from
semi-fashionable,
smoking.
and
They moved from smoking to vaping to gummies, right? Everything like that.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
it's the progression. It's like the
But it's the
the
kind of
drinking.
thing. It's like this kind of thing is just to be naughty. Let's have a cigarette, darling.
That's right.
They would
Do
never buy
something
one. Right?
antisocial.
Let's have a cigarette, darling, and have a conversation. Um, but um, but this business about there's something about, because I know this is the 50-old thing. Is like I've noticed something about mindsets, and it's a very sad thing to say. My mother retired at 55. Probably no good reason, but anyway, she retired at 55, and she made a decision then that she was done. And from
Yeah.
the age of 55 till she died at 85 a couple of years ago, she did progressively less and less and less and less and less. And her body got weaker and weaker and weaker. And for the last 10 or
Mm,
15 years of her life, she was physically compromised. She wasn't strong and everything like that, but that's a choice. That wasn't biology. That was a choice.
yeah.
And I find it an incredibly, incredibly thing is the mind for me seems to check out before the body. Like it maybe happened to my father. Like I noticed my father was like, let's go to Denny's, Dad. No,
Yeah.
no, no. That was our favorite rituals, going and have moves over my hammy. And these little things, let's go to the movies, Dad. No, no, I don't like all the noise and everything like that. Let's go. And fewer things. Let's go for a walk. No, not really good. And so the mind gets old before the body. Now, that isn't always true. It's a ridiculous thing
I
to say.
agree
Didn't
with
happen
you
to Steve Jobs,
100%.
yeah. And I think, and so I like to believe that I'm possessed of a mindset that's like, if I could live for another 30 or 40 or 80 years, that'd be just fine with me. I'd find something
Yeah.
interesting to do. And, I could.
Well,
So
that's why there's this
I,
huge
I, I
push
found
for
that very
longevity
sad.
now.
I find that very sad, though. I find it very sad. And again, this is a cultural thing. It's like there's this thing that's just like This is the time of your life where you ought to be doing X. You ought not to be dating. You ought not to be dancing and going to nightclubs. You ought not to be traveling. You ought to
Why?
be mowing the. You ought to
This
be
is when you
mowing the
should. This
lawn.
is when you have the time to do it.
But this, but these are cultural shoulds. These are cultural shoulds. These are
Yeah.
shoulds that we inherit, and they have incredible force. Like
Mm,
these kind of shoulds travel for centuries and millennia. Like people think that culture changes. Like democracy is an experiment. That's like let's forget for the moment your people of Greek, for example. But let's say that it was 300 years ago. We take that French Revolution, stuff that happened in England and American Revolution, something like that. But we are still culturally still wrestling with the idea. The women's suffrage, right?
mm.
100 years, 150 years ago, or something like that. We are still wrestling with changing our culture to one in which there would be these cultural shifts, emancipation of black people in the United States, 1865. We're still, the culture is still, in some ways, antithetical to the idea of equality, of suffrage, of racial equality, of democracy. Like there are still people, I won't name any names, who think that democracy is an aberration. It's an
Mm.
experiment that's failed us. So culture changes very, very slowly. I'm talking centuries, like really
No, no,
slowly.
no. I
So
agree with you 100%. But on the individual basis, I think you're absolutely right that it's completely mentally driven of where you're going to be and where you're going to go, and you can turn that switch on and off yourself. I mean, you have full control over that switch, whether or not you're going to align with the cultural norms or break with the cultural norms. But you do have to have the courage to break with the cultural norms when you want to.
well, you have to know that their cultural norms are not facts about the world,
Yes,
right?
yes, exactly.
I mean, if you've done a little therapy, they're very good at saying, like, where's that should come from? That should that you're saying there, like I should, like what, like who says, like where? But I mean, Freud was kind of a related guy, but like this idea that we have this superego that
Mm.
provides us with shoulds. These are cultural shoulds and parental shoulds and familial shoulds. And, like, where do they come from? So he was right to question. Well, he actually thought it had a protective function. I don't know about that, but
Well, I mean, maybe in some aspects it had a protective function because it was your parent or your culture,
yes,
giving you
yes,
advice,
and yeah.
but you don't have to listen to it.
But you don't have to listen to it. Thank
And-
you for sharing.
exactly.
We should trade sci-fi television things just because. Um,
But everything is a
so
dystopia, man. I mean, I'm a diehard Star Trek fan. I
best
watch everything.
television show in the last best sci-fi in the last 5 years television show
In the last five
in the
years,
last no, 5 years. That's
I guess I would say I like the Expanse, but I don't like the dystopian. I don't like how dystopian it is. But then again,
it, it is it kind of is and it isn't. But yeah, so that would be among my number ones. You like any of the Black Mirrors and that stuff?
I love Black Mirrors as a concept, but again, they're all very dystopian. So that's what
They
like
are.
I mean, it's kind of like when Star Trek came out back in the '60s. I thought finally some decent, intelligent science fiction, but that's all there was. I mean, there was Lost in Space and all that other junk out there, and we're in that same time
Oh,
period where
that was
there's very
such
little
rubbish. I mean, of course
utopians.
I watched it.
There's very little utopian sci-fi in any media. Any media.
No, there isn't. There isn't.
Read
It's hard
culture.
to find. It's incredibly
Yeah,
hard to find.
yeah. There's no utopian.
Um,
That's why I'm writing a time travel novel, which is hopefully set in a utopian future. I haven't finished it yet.
well, yeah. But you see, the thing is, like, I have a friend who talks about a Star Trek future as like being a childish indulgence. Yeah, don't talk to me about that shit.
Please,
That it's like you're irresponsible to think that the world could somehow be considerably better than it is now for most people. Like that's kind of an
come on.
irresponsible thought, or that some of what constitutes our life to life: crime, debauchery, murder, strife, starvation. Blah. Some of that is seen as normal, like we're the boiling frog. Like this has all become
No,
normal
never.
to us now.
That should never be normal.
No, no, of course not. And so my friend, yeah, God rest, it just passed. But he used to think that was a pejorative statement. That's a Star Trek sentiment.
Mm.
Like it's a bad
But the
it's
thing
a
is,
bad thing because it's yeah.
sometimes I think so. I think almost everybody in their heart of hearts wants a post-scarcity society, right? I mean, they look at those societies and they go, "This is the kind of society I'd love to live in." And sometimes I think to myself, we actually may already be there, but everything is just so incredibly partitioned, and there are so many. We could be there if there weren't so many interests interested in keeping things going exactly the way they are.
Well,
Because if you
somebody
think about it,
profits
no
from the
matter what
status
happens,
quo,
nothing really
right?
material changes, huh?
Somebody's profiting from the status quo. Like that's the way the world is structured right now. If something is the way it is, it's because someone is profiting from it in some
Yeah,
regard.
even if it's an
I, I,
absolutely horrible thing, everyone agrees that it's horrible, but it
yeah.
never goes away and never changes. Someone somewhere is profiting from it the way it is.
All right. Two cartoons: Pantheon and Rick and Morty. Yes or no?
Those are both great. Come on,
You've seen
man.
Pantheon? Pantheon? My kids said there's this cartoon I want you to watch. I said I don't know. Get out of my face. And they're like, "No, Dad, you really like it's about artificial intelligence." Like,
Oh, wait a minute.
I
You're talking
thought that
about
was one
something
of the
else.
most magnificent television shows I've ever seen. Was Pantheon
Oh,
one of
sorry.
the
I'm
most
thinking about something
thoughtful?
else.
Pantheon, the cartoon that came out last year,
No, I'm
one
thinking
of
about
the
something else.
one of the best television, if you like sci-fi, one of the best television shows I've ever seen.
I
Never mind
live and breathe
cartoons.
sci-fi, man. I'm gonna watch that.
Are you shitting me? I went for a dinner in Madison with two of my bros. They're like 31 or 32, or whatever they are. They were watching like some basketball game on television. It came to halftime. I said, "You guys have to check this out." And they had the same reaction as me. He's like, "I don't want to watch a cartoon. Like, whatever. I'm not 8 anymore." Right? You know, the Jetsons. No, I said, no, just give it a minute. And I started them on Pantheon. And my buddy calls me the next day. He texts me the next day. Because nobody calls anybody anymore. He texts me the next day. He says, bro, I watched that shit till 4 in the morning. What the fuck? it's it's honestly it's that good. It's not about artificial intelligence, it's about uploaded intelligence. So what if we could upload our consciousness
Oh
and
man.
become yeah, so interesting. But it handles so much of the issues for today. Is what's the moral status of these uploaded intelligences? Do they do they are they right bearing, to use the philosophical term? Do they accrue rights and responsibilities? Very interesting question, right? And then there are people who think this uploaded intelligence is somehow a betrayal of God's nature. There is that word, but our human
No, I
nature is
disagree
like
with that.
when
If we
it's
could
your
do
time
it,
to
I
go,
think
you
if
should
we
just you should just go and not like this other thing. But from Indian culture is like uploaded intelligence is a real thing, right? Well, a real thing, 1,000 years from
uploaded
now.
intelligence, I can't wait for that to happen. I mean, I want that to happen because I think that's sort of like, see, people think that nature is driving our evolution, but I think we've gotten to the point where we are driving our own evolution, right? And if we can get to the point where we can upload ourselves, then that we've taken on our own evolutionary path. Do you got to
I
jump?
just put
I know it's the top of the hour.
not desperately, but I just released a book yesterday, and it would be really bad of me not to mention. I wrote a book called Polymath Poker. Polymath, yeah, English I sang polymath,
Polymath
polymath
poker.
poker. I wrote a book called Polymath Poker, which is what high stakes poker has to teach AI strategists, basically. So it's a book ton about finance and risk management. Anyway, I won't sell the book here, but it'd be really irresponsible of me to not to mention polymath poker. Get it now while supplies last. And the other thing is, I draw attention that AI sleep disorder post on that I wrote on Substack. I think is worth a peek because
Okay.
it's a real for the people I talk to who are absolutely buzzing with how much they can contribute with artificial intelligence as their partner are all in the place. Like I wake up at 2 in the morning and I got to have ideas and I have to write it down and even Sam Altman is talking about going to a polyphasic sleep structure where you work for 4 or 5 hours and then you chill 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, you sleep, and then you work for
Dude,
another
we
four or
used to
five
do
hours.
that. Didn't we used to do that?
Polyphasic
I've read
college?
somewhere that we used to do that. We used to do that like in the 1800s, late 1800s or
Oh,
something
did
like that.
we?
There was a period
Oh,
of
I didn't know
time
that.
where
I
we
didn't know
did
that.
sleep for 4 hours, and then we had a period of wakefulness where we did stuff, and then we went back to sleep again. I remember reading
Honestly,
that somewhere.
for me, it would be better. But again, I have this thing in my head, like I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, is you ought to be asleep. No,
Cultural
probably what I
norms.
ought to do is no, probably I ought to get my ass up and work for 3 or 4 hours and then go back to bed. That's
Why not?
probably what I ought to do. But well,
I think
sometimes
I
I do,
think
sometimes I
I
don't.
think that I think we probably have maybe this whole 8 hour sleep thing is the same problem, right? We're looking at it. Maybe it should be chopped up into smaller chunks. Maybe we should have 4 hours then and 4 hours later. I mean, how do we know what's real?
Oh, well, we don't. Well, we don't. But
We
I
never do.
should go. I want to say, Efhari Sopolu. Efhari Sopolu. And we're going to get a little Greek in there. Get a little more Greek in there.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
polikala, poliora. All right. Well, thank you so much for all this. This is great. We should do this again, man. We had
Yeah,
fun.
I love it. It was really fun. It was really good to
We do
know
a
that.
lot of we have
Uh,
a lot of things in common.
we do indeed, Chris. Thank you very much. All right, all the
All
best.
right, sir. And I will put all the links in the show notes so people can go direct. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.